Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be dropping a Hedera Hashgraph HBAR video. And it's predominantly going to be a video about Hedera Hashgraph's HBAR token's price. We're going to be looking at it from a technical point of view on a number of different timeframes. And we're going to continue to put forward a little bit of what we have done previously and recapping on it in regards to why we're bullish on Hedera, but also the progress that we're seeing thus far. Certainly on that smaller time frame pattern, the daily time frame pattern in the form of a falling wedge that is progressing, and there's more to come. The pullback that Hedera Hashgraph has been going through since the start of the year is coming to an end, ladies and gentlemen. You're about to embark on a journey taking you to where we came from before the pullback started, and then above and beyond, in line with what we're expecting on the weekly timeframes, so on and so forth. So don't worry, some of that sounds a little bit confusing. We'll break it all down in this video. We're also going to look at Hedera Hashgraph versus Bitcoin, and in terms of dominance, both showing some very positive signs. It's going to be a great time to be a Hedera Hashgraph investor, in my opinion, over the remainder of this year. Perhaps indefinitely, we just don't know. So, before I do that, there was an announcement by the HBAR Foundation that a new era of growth is underway. And I want to just start on that because some of you guys aren't on Twitter. You might not be that plugged into some of the news sources. Get on Twitter if you're not, or X. It's both the best and the worst place for information. But if you're into finance, if you're into crypto, it's a truly great place to be. And go and give me a follow at real Allincrypto. But this was announced yesterday. A new name, new leadership, and a new era for builders on Hedera. I think Mance is going to be sort of the chairman, which he wasn't previously. We'll have to explore that in more detail. But this is what was announced yesterday. This year and beyond, we're laser focused on driving growth across Hedera's on-chain economy and its institutional ecosystem, working to replace the network in pole position for the years to come. And now is the time. Everything is truly heating up. So what does this mean? More grassroots builder support, whilst also attracting top innovators from outside the ecosystem to establish Hedera as a leading network for both startups and enterprises. I've always said this, and this is what these cryptos need to do. This technology is truly transformational. They need to attract entrepreneurs that are going to build the next Facebooks, Googles, Amazons, so on and so forth on this technology, on the new internet, or the internet of value. It's not the new internet, it's really the internet of value. And this is a push by the HBAR Foundation to do exactly that. It goes to say that's DeFi, AI, institutional asset tokenization, and beyond. I would like to see... Hedera's got some great things tokenized on it. I'd like to see more. It's not a leader right now. It might be in terms of the technology and the capabilities, but in terms of actual institutions tokenizing, yes, there are lots, but in terms of TVL, it's not leading. It's not leading by stable coins. It's not leading by DeFi. And I think they're addressing a lot of that in this. Now, you may say, Allin, you've just said all that, or Rupert, as you know me by now. You've just said all that. Why are you so bullish on Hedera? Well, because I think it's the most capable to do so. It has everything. It's a complete package. It might not be first in terms of TVL, but I think with the capabilities that it got, it makes it an obvious choice to do so. Anyway, stop rambling, Rupert. Alongside directly accelerating builders, we're also going to be indirectly accelerating them through renewed marketing that aims to capture attention from across Web 2 and Web 3 and funnel it into emerging economies being built on Hedera. Over the coming weeks, we'll present our extensive strategy on how we plan to achieve this. For now, check out the latest on Hedera Press. We'll open this up before we move on to some price action. And it goes over it in a lot more detail here. We did cover it over on, I think we've made an article on it on allincrypto.com, which you should go and check out. But this is cool. The Hedera Governing Council is now just called the Hedera Council. That was one thing that was announced. And of course, there's been a kind of rebranding in regards to the color scheme of the HBAR Foundation, which is interesting. So we're always staying up to date with these projects fundamentally. Let's talk about technically what we've been looking at. And let's start by recapping. So I like to look at the markets in 4 phases. Anybody that's a patron will be very familiar with this, or if you've been a long-time follower of the channel. Markets move in a wave-like fashion, right? And there's typically 4 phases. Wyckoff, everyone's familiar with the accumulation and distribution schematic, but there was another 2 parts of that. You know, there was accumulation into an uptrend, distribution into a downtrend. It's very simple. The Wall Street cheat sheet highlights it in terms of emotions. Markets do typically move, and this is a proven fact, in this fashion because they're driven by human beings. And if you think about a trend, you know, think about something like Adidas Sambas or something. They swung back around and became very popular, and that trended up. They'll probably trend down again, a few years later, so on and so forth. Similar kind of concept takes place with the market, simplifying everything. Now, this is an accumulative phase that Hedera has been in, and I believe it broke out of that with this rally of 800% that we looked at on the back end of a falling wedge that we highlighted, and we'll drop down the time frames and show you the prior falling wedge. So this is the current falling wedge that we've got, but there was a prior falling wedge here that gave us that 800% rally that we looked at. We called it. We got it very right. And with that, on the bigger time frame, let's get back to log because we're on a larger time frame. With that rally, you actually broke out of this accumulation on accelerated volume. This isn't retail. This is smart money that's driving this after accumulating. And if you look at the moves within this accumulative range, the volume is to the upside, showing you who's in charge. You get this breakout, then you get a retest. Now, we drew our retest level here, which on the BlackRock spike, if it was here, that would align with where you've just pulled back to. And this is there's more price action here, if you will. There's also a point here. So when you break out of phase one on a cumulative phase, you do it on volume, and then you'll typically get a retest before continuation. We've been talking about this for months now, and it's playing out post this break. And ultimately, this is taking the form of a bit of a double bottom, I think. I think you could see 96 cents on the back end of this. You got very close to all-time highs with what's just happened. Let's just put the all-time or the prime moves high on here. You can see you really just ran into all-time highs. Very common you pull back. That pullback is set up in the form of continuation. But just to show you a couple of examples, and I've got hundreds, I study this. This is your accumulative phase. This is a breakout, retest, continuation. That's what Hedera truly has ahead of it. And we've been saying this for months, and we will be proven right. I truly believe that, and I'm invested as if that was the case. Again, accumulative phase, double bottom, break, retest, broad continuation. This is what Hedera has for it ahead of it, ladies and gentlemen. And we've looked at that and there's lots of confirming things here. This breakout, where we are in terms of phase analysis. There's also double bottom structure taking us there. And what we looked at on the smaller time frames was the pullback that we've been going through really since, let's say, December last year or January this year, has set up in the form of a falling wedge. And you've broken out of that falling wedge. You've had a bit of a pullback having run into resistance. Could be a bit of a head and shoulder structure on the smaller time frame. So we're actually setting up structure as we speak. And we're going to put this on here, and I'll give you the target. And we can follow this through, just like we've been following it through thus far. That ultimately, we've got two things here, is likely going to see Hedera run to 27 cents in the short term. But the falling wedge is going to play out like we see so many falling wedges play out. This is an example I like to show. And see an entire retracement and continuation to the upside. And what that's going to do when this falling wedge plays out and retraces the move and goes back to your sort of 40 cents range is then going to tie in with a bigger picture that we just outlined, which is continuation to the upside towards the double bottom target and more broadly into phase two, which is the phase that we are in. We've been we have huge success on this, and we really simplify technical analysis because people make it so complicated. They try and sell you these golden indicators, and the indicators don't work. What you need to do is understand price action, understand that human beings are behind it, and these structures set up because of that and often lead to a desired result or expected result. So we look at the markets through four phases because that's ultimately how they work. They move in waves. It's the whole back to the Adidas Sambas becoming popular, or Uggs are really popular or were over Christmas. If you were to monitor that in terms of a trend, they move in this way. Like I said, markets are very similar. And we know where we are in regards to that, and we've just come out of accumulation, and that means we've got an uptrend ahead of us. And you've got this falling wedge that sees that continuation. On top of that, look at what Hedera Bitcoin's setting up. Similar thing, it's broken out, it's retesting, you're going to see a real explosion out of this. Just like Ethereum Classic, and I traded this back in 2019. You get this kind of a breakout. That's to come for Hedera on against the dollar. It aligns with the broader timeframes that we have. But we're also seeing similar things with Hedera BTC. After a major run, you pull back in this falling wedge fashion, you're going to see continuation out of it. And Hedera dominance. It couldn't be more obvious what's setting up right now for Hedera. and the markets generally. The beautiful thing about this is we have the context of we're bullish on the cryptocurrency space more broadly, and we've got a number of reasons to be so technically. Hedera is a part of that picture. We're seeing all the things you would expect in regards to, this is now an uptrending market, I believe, for Hedera. And we've got structure that gives us that continuation. And it looks good against the crosses, not just against the US dollar cross, but BTC and, of course, dominance. So I am unbelievably... Hedera is my largest position just through grace of how well it's done for us already. That's going to continue. It's going to be a great time to be a Hedera holder. And one thing I want to remind people of is we've still got a governing council to fill. There's 30 spots on the governing council space that have been taken right now. There's 39 to fill. So we could get 9 governing council members in the next year. And they're all going to be significant. I may or may not have rumors about one of them that I don't wish to share publicly until I get a little bit more confirmation. But that's it from me, guys. We just wanted to... It's been a little while since we covered Hedera. We're putting forward the reasons why we're bullish. And we've been putting these reasons forward for a while now. We've been accurate on them. We've been accumulating during accumulation. We've now got sunshine ahead of us. And it is a great day here in the UK. Let's love and leave you on that note. We're going to keep you up to date. We're going to follow all this through. If we're wrong, we're wrong. If we're right, we're right. That's it from me, guys. I'll see you all in the next one.